Good morning, boys and girls of the internet. Today is Thursday, May 31st, 2018. Vlog number 150. It's another milestone here. 150 vlogs is pretty good. Now what you're seeing here is a really awesome boss battle from God of War, where you get to fight a giant-ass dragon. This is like the coolest boss battle so far that I've played in the game. And I'm going to leave as much footage of this battle as possible. Or even if I stop talking about what I'm talking about today, I'm going to continue the footage on to the end of the fight, so enjoy. But speaking of fights, today's subject is something I've been thinking about for quite a while. As you can tell from the thumbnail, we have a odd problem in society today. People are more and more so tribal about things. There's probably a lot of factors to it, of which I'll get to in a bit. But you could look at almost any subject, any product, any little thing here and there, and if you look, you'll probably find division between two or more camps of people. Especially today with, social media and online communities. People love to set themselves in with camps and fight. Now, it could be anything. I mean, it also depends on where you go in the country, but, you can go with McDonald's versus Burger King. Some people are adamant that they love McDonald's and they hate Burger King. Vice versa. There are, of course, exceptions to this. There's people that, don't care either way. But some will have a preference of the other. Some will have stronger preferences. Also, depending where you are in the country, cultural influences may take hold, and you might like one of the other because of that's pretty much what that region of the world likes. Take for example, Coke versus Pepsi. Now, it come to my attention that in a lot of southern states, they prefer Coke. Northern or the coasts, they prefer Pepsi. I don't know if that's true or not, but still, there's always a Coke versus Pepsi. Take the Pepsi challenge, or the Coke is better. Now, these type of things you don't really see too many people getting into heated arguments about. At least not that I've seen. But there are interesting things that you could find that you're like, wow. Take for example, I was noticing this a while back. Especially when it comes to video games, PlayStation versus Xbox, or if you want to take it to at Nintendo or PC and stuff. Now they're among gamers as tribes, and I was kind of making the subject about. I was talking with people online that's hey, people will find anything to argue about, and I thought about the most mundane thing. A vacuum cleaner. I just did a search on YouTube about vacuum cleaner reviews. Lo and behold, there's people arguing over vacuum cleaners, which is better, and they'll fight tooth and nail. They're not really hard, oh, I'll fuck your mom and I'll kill you, and no, they don't get that hard. But they're all oh, Dyson makes a much better product. So it's so much a better vacuum cleaner. Things like Bissell doesn't even compare. And then you get the other camps oh, Bissell's so much better. Dyson's just overpriced. You're paying for the name. Blah blah blah. You get that thing with a lot of things probably Nike versus I don't know, Adidas. I don't know much about shoes, so I don't really care. But a lot of little things, and you see from my thumbnail that I put all kinds of different subjects I can think about. I was gonna make it a lot more differing subjects. In retrospect, I could have put like Nike versus Adidas and Levi jeans versus Wrangler. I'm guessing. Other name brands that people know about. I'll pop the thumbnail here so you can see it bigger. But yeah, and I just kind of put different things on different sides randomly, and you'll see funny things like flat Earth versus a round Earth, a spherical Earth. Like I said, PlayStation versus Xbox, and yeah, among certain things, there's blurred lines. Sometimes of some subjects, not that many people care about the differences too much. But there are some things that, and I guess it depends on how important these things are to people, that they fight harder for it or fight harder over it. For example, big example, and everybody knows this now, even if you don't really care about the subject, it exists out there. Politics. There's a huge divide with politics in this country. And not just two sides, or multiple sides. People can say, Democrat versus Republican. Well, that's a broad citing. Throwing the Green Party or the Independent Party in there, just kind of be the third wheel. But then you have liberal versus conservative. Well, what's the difference between a liberal and a Democrat and a conservative and a Republican? There are slight differences. There are extremes on either side. You could be like a liberal Democrat, or you could be like a centrist Democrat, and it gets to either extremes. So not only do you have these two major parties, I'm going to stick with just the two for this. They fight and they discuss, but you also have infighting within the parties of the sides. So you can be just like a regular, normal Republican who holds to Republican values. You want smaller government. You want to hold on to your Second Amendment. But that's about the extent of it. You maybe might be a religious person as well, because that's the majority of Republicans are religious. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you get like the extreme sides of the extreme conservatives, the far rights, that are like blaming Mexicans and blacks and gays for all their problems. Blaming saying that all media is liberal media and they're all biased. So going as so far as to literally be Nazis. There you go. Then you have the other side, the far leftists. You have where they I don't want to bring be too specific with feminism or anything like that, but you do have most of those extreme feminists are on the left side, and they fight hard for things like social justice. But a lot of times they could take things way too far in that, in where they will literally just shit on, not literally shit, just they'll badmouth and be extremely literally bigoted towards a white Southerner who's a Republican, and they'll say oh, you dumb hick, why don't you freaking drop off the face here, and they'll be very hateful towards them. They'll do a lot more things they'll fight for PETA, protection for animals and stuff like that. But they'll do extremes where if they see someone putting a hamburger in their mouth, they'll slap the hamburger out of their hands. Or I don't know. probably a lot of things that they do. So, and the big thing, and of course with politics, you can talk about this all day. I'll just mention this one last thing about, just strictly politics. I believe I mentioned this a couple months ago that I once tried to broach the divide, broach the bubbles of the two parties. I joined a Facebook group that was very, very much pro-Trump. So they're, we're the right wing, they're far right people, and I joined their Facebook group just to kind of see their behavior and also be able to talk to them and interact with them, because I kind of wanted to understand, what goes on in their minds. Now, I never fought with anybody. I never called anybody names. I just used logic and reasoning, and when it came to providing proof of my claims or proof of things that they're denying, things like Trump say, they got mad at me. And after only 3 days of doing this and providing proof and using logic, they banned me. They kicked me out of the group. Now, what does that say against them? I don't know. Maybe it's just one or two people that really got mad at me and wanted to ban me. I don't know. But as a whole, these people literally have blinders on. And it's self-fulfilling. Not self-fulfilling. Sorry. It's a confirmation bias. They get into a group who thinks like them and agrees with them, and whatever they say, even if it's batshit crazy, they're gonna find people who agree with them. So it confirms what they are putting out there. So in their mind now, whatever they're putting out there is fact, and you can't say anything different, because that's not the place for it or whatever. Same thing with, I'm sure, liberal sides. There are people out there that will defend tooth and nail, Hillary Clinton or something. She was going to be the first woman president. She was going to be so much better for this country. Well, I would go in there and say, no, she's pretty much an establishment Democrat. She's beholden to too many donors and billionaires, and she will just do whatever the billionaires say, whatever Wall Street says, and that's not a good thing. I would go in there and provide examples look at all the money she's taking, and look at the things that she's for that policy-wise would benefit the establishment rather than the people. Granted, my side of things, Hillary would have been a much better president than what we got now. Much better. Not the best choice, but a lot of times we don't have the best choice. If you got a choice between, cutting off your left arm or getting, punched in the gut by a really big, strong guy, what are you going to choose? Those are your own, your choices. Both suck. One sucks less. But yeah, that's politics, and I think out of almost everything, the politic bubble is the strongest one, because it kind of shapes almost everything about a person's standing in the world, what their beliefs are, their core beliefs, and that's really hard to break through. So I don't know, what do you do? I tried to step through, I tried to break through the bubble, and tried to reach out, but I was shut down almost immediately. I was kicked out of the bubble. So, politics aside, now we get into more fandoms. Now, you get things like, I don't know, subbed versus dubbed anime. That's a subject near and dear to my heart because I prefer subtitled anime over dubbed. Because I don't like to hear Japanese animation with English voices. It just sounds wrong to me. Granted, there's a lot of really good voice actors out there that can do a pretty good job. It just, to my ears, it sounds wrong. And to my opinion, I think it is wrong because that's not what the original Japanese creators envisioned for their characters. They chose Japanese actors to fit their characters. Now, whether those choices were good or not, that's subjective. But that is the choice that they made. They didn't choose the American actors. Video games, I mentioned before, on your PlayStation versus Xbox, PC versus consoles, things like that. And then you got some people that are, they don't prefer either one. They just take either one, whatever they can get. So among gamers, this is where you kind of get to the territory of fanboys. And fanboys can almost be as hard-lined and, with a strong, bubble wall as politics. Because they're so hard set into their fanboyism. There are some people who are only PlayStation fans. I know, because I know one. And anything Xbox is evil to them or something. I don't know. Then there's Xbox fans who absolutely hate PlayStation. Oh, their controller sucks. Their game lineup, they don't have a good online infrastructure. Things like that. Again, most of these things are all very subjective. I'm telling you all these things, and most of you know these things. DC versus Marvel. Now, again, comic book fans, a lot of comic book fans, they, go either way. They like either one. But with the recent addition of really good comic book movies over the last couple of years, you get really hard lines of people who, oh, Marvel all the way, Marvel makes the best movies, which box office and sales-wise, they do. They're obviously much better performing franchises than what DC can produce. DC's kind of playing catch-up, though. They kind of started in a different way and started late, but at the same time, the tone of their movies is different. The subject is a little bit different. And then, there's some people who just don't like the characters. Like, take me, for example. I'm not a big Superman fan. He's kind of generic, if you ask me. He's just like, oh, I'm Superman, I can beat anything, whatever. Now, I do like Batman. And I do like a lot of other DC characters. Green Lantern, I don't really give a shit. But nowadays, like, Iron Man's cool. Captain America, he's cool. Freaking the Black Panther movie, that was a fucking badass movie. Guardians of the Galaxy. Come on, that movie's entertaining as fuck. In fact, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was at the time when it came out, my favorite Marvel movie to come out. Now, right now, that's Avengers Infinity War. That's now my top movie of Marvel. Also, Deadpool. Deadpool's freaking hilarious. But you have those two camps. You have DC and Marvel. And these people fight tooth and nail. They really get strong, heated. Which brings me to my next set of fanboys. And this is a sore subject of late. Because you see it everywhere. Star Wars. Now, this is a pretty unique subject for what it is. And there are some categories that are kind of like this if you really dig down. Star Wars fanboys against Star Wars fanboys. So it's the same, two of the same against each other. Why? Because of basically the last couple of Star Wars movies that come out. You started to see the divide when The Force Awakens came out. Everybody was so super excited for Force Awakens, you know, when the first trailers hit. Like, yeah, a new Star Wars movie, you know, it looks awesome, it looks freaking badass, you know, and people were hyped, people were pumped, they were so excited for it. Then the movie came out. A lot of people really loved that movie. And then you start to see little inklings of people who are not only just against it, but really against it. You start to see people going, what the hell is this shit? It's like some kind of, and this is the first time I started seeing this type of terminology in terms of a movie. They start saying, what is this SJW nonsense? I'm like, SJW? Well, I know that term, but why is this being used for Star Wars? And it turns out people don't like when things are too inclusive, I guess, and too much, I don't know. I really don't know what they really see in Star Wars that makes it some kind of SJW agenda. Now they'll tell you things like, oh look, Rey is a Mary Sue. What the fuck does that mean? Well, it means that her character is kind of flawless, that she is perfect. You know, like, look at her. You know, she has no lightsaber training whatsoever, yet she beats Kylo Ren at the end. I wouldn't say she beat him. She fought back against him on almost an equal footing, but that's kind of explainable. You see early on in the movie that she kind of has to fend for herself and defend against, you know, people, kind of like a street fight. So she knows how to handle herself in a fight. They tell you that, you know, through the movie. Now one could say it's like, well, that's just an excuse. Well, no, that's her character. She grew up alone. She had to fend for herself. That's natural. So put a lightsaber in her hand, and also that she is, you know, just awakened to the Force, and she has all this, you know, Force insight suddenly. You know, coupled to that, her already, albeit probably street level prowess and hand-to-hand fighting, she could probably swing a lightsaber pretty well when she really wants to. Now granted, Kylo Ren, he was supposed to be kind of an expert, but at the time, he had a big hole in his side. He was shot by Chewbacca's crossbow. A crossbow that took out like 2 stormtroopers in one shot. So he was injured. This is an excuse. Anyway. And he was probably confused that this woman was fighting back at him, you know, the way she was. You could tell through the movie he's a very emotional person, and his emotion doesn't really make him focused. Doesn't give him power like, you know, in episode 3. So kind of it makes sense that, yeah, it is a believable fight. They could be very much on equal footing. And the only thing, you know, no one really beat the other. Rey got a shot on him, but then like the ground split and they weren't able to finish the fight. Some other people maybe not want to admit it, but they'll probably also say that the fact of making one of the main characters a black guy is somehow some kind of SJW agenda of like, inclusiveness and putting like a bromance in there. So, well, first of all, the whole notion that he's just a black guy, that's kind of racist. It simply is. Who cares what his skin color is? He's a character that he was a stormtrooper, and he didn't like being a stormtrooper anymore. So he stopped being a stormtrooper. He could have been literally anybody. Could have been Asian. It just, started to divide there. Now, when Rogue One came out, people were a little bit apprehensive because they're like, wait a minute, there's a kind of a side story. But that movie did pretty well for the time. There were still a lot of naysayers. There were some people who were saying, it's like, oh, look at this. More SJW agenda, some kind of feminist crap, that the main character here, again, is a female. So what? Let the main character be a female. I would say that after decades and decades of, constant male main characters, we can get 2 movies in a row with female leads. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't make me an SJW. But it was a good movie. It was a decent movie. You kind of knew what was going to happen, but so there was more divide there. But the biggest divide, there's no shock to anybody, came with The Last Jedi. And here, from my point of view, when people got so mad about that movie, I was looking at it and I was like, all right, from a movie standpoint and a narrative standpoint, I can almost see where you're coming from, where there's some things that don't make quite too much sense, and the plot, there's a lot of plot holes that just doesn't make any sense. But on a whole, taken as a whole, the movie was still entertaining for me. I liked that movie. I thought it was a good movie. I liked what they did with the characters. And I liked how it ended. A lot of people didn't, because they're like, oh, look what they did with this stupid side story of going to this casino planet. So what? They needed something for some characters to do. They could have went and did anything, but this is what they chose to do. Oh, they're doing some kind of lefty agenda showing that how bad war is, and how just making people rich, and look, there's like little people, slaves, suffering for it. That's what fucking happens in reality. There's nothing, too extreme about that view. Yeah, maybe you might not want it in your Star Wars movies, but it's called Star Wars. War. It shows a little bit more realism in that, hey, yeah, people profit off war. And they profit off both sides, too. And they showed that. And, yeah, maybe it might have been a little heavy-handed, but it kind of gave Star Wars a little more realism. Because that's what fucking happens. And if you don't like it, it means you're in denial of that's what happens in the war. Sorry, that's what it means. They also didn't like the whole plan of escaping, and having this slow chase. All right, give them that. It was kind of a dumb way to do it. Why couldn't the Imperials send a ship around to the other side and come back the other way and catch them? But then they go and they complain about using light speed as a weapon to aim your ship at another ship to ram them with light speed. Oh, that breaks all of prior Star Wars. If that's something if that was an option, why couldn't you do that to the Death Star? Whatever shielding or armor the Death Star would have had, send a big enough ship through it, would have destroyed it. Well, it's very likely that, no one might have thought of that. Maybe the rebels didn't really have anything big enough that might have done anything against the Death Star. Remember, they just found out about the Death Star, so they weren't gonna like go send a couple of empty ships or something, or with a droid piloting it into lightspeed to see if maybe it'll do something against it. They don't know if it'll do anything against it until you do it. Even still, when Admiral Holdo did it in The Last Jedi, it didn't completely destroy the Snoke's ship. It cut it in half, but it was still there. So it's not a foolproof thing. It's not something that, I don't know. A lot of people can argue about that. Some people say, oh,
Not long now, Mom.
what about Snoke? They completely wasted Snoke. You don't know anything about Snoke. He was just there. Go back to the original trilogy. You didn't know jack shit about the Emperor. I'm going back in the 1977, and then 79 and then 83, when the old movies came out, before you had a prequel. You didn't know shit about the Emperor. They didn't tell you him. They didn't even tell you his name. He was just the Emperor. And he was only in it for a short time. All you knew was that he was evil, and he ran everything. And he was powerful. That's all you need to know. Snoke, he's evil, he's running everything in the First Order, and he's powerful. What more you need? And it was at that point where, when it came to the Snoke, I came to the conclusion that moviegoers today are entitled. They have a feeling of entitlement that they should have all the answers. The movie should hand them all the answers. That's no fun. That's no fun. Look back at the old movies, they didn't give you all the answers. Why should we get all the answers nowadays? Use your imagination for the things that they're not telling you. Have we lost that? I don't know. There are people with a lot more arguments about what they didn't like about The Last Jedi, but one of the biggest ones is what they did with Luke. Luke Skywalker, the main character of Star Wars. I didn't see anything wrong with that, with what they did with him. Yeah, there was a lot of options, what they could have done with him, but what they did with him, I thought was cool as shit. It's like, oh, why is he just giving a force projection to fool, Kylo? Well, in the Extended Universe books, that was one of Luke's powers. He did it once. So it's not outside the realm of possibility of it wasn't something they pulled out of their ass. It was something that a book writer pulled out of his ass, but it was a cool ability. It was just new, Look back at the old Star Wars once again. The first movie, they never once told you or showed you that you could use the Force to move things, to move a rock, to pull a lightsaber to your hand. Yet, in The Empire Strikes Back, what's one of the first things you see Luke do with the Force? That Obi-Wan didn't even tell him that it was even a possibility. He pulled the lightsaber to his hand out of the snow with the Force. No one taught him that. No one explained how that works. No one said that this is a power that you get when you're training to be a Jedi. This is just what the Force does. You move rocks, you move things. They didn't have to explain these things. They didn't have to explain that, this, evil Emperor guy can shoot lightning bolt out of his fingers. They didn't have to explain any of that. They just did it. It was just powers that's like, hey, let's give them a power that, it's cool, that it just makes the character, have more abilities. So they give Luke a new ability instead of just giving him the same old crap. So all this is to say, there's always going to be camps, and with the Star Wars camps, it's really hard because they're two sides of the same coin. They like the same thing. They like Star Wars, but they have two different opinions of what they want for Star Wars. Now, I'm not going to say that they're invalid for having these opinions, because every fan wants something out of whatever. Some people see things one way, some people see things the other. But the way I look at it is, when it comes to something like Star Wars, people hold on to that so hard because it's their childhood, especially the older fans. So if you screw up just one little thing about it, you're gonna get hatred. Now, when they make these new Star Wars movies, they could write them in 1,000 different ways. 1,000 different groups of fans would want it written in a different way. You're gonna piss off somebody, basically, is what I'm saying. No matter how you write it, somebody's not gonna like it. Some Star Wars fan's not gonna like it, because you're not gonna please everybody. You're not gonna go out there, and find millions and millions of fans, poll them with what they want from a movie, and write it exactly how that is polled, or something. You're not gonna write a movie based off fan input. You're gonna write a movie with the way if you're a movie writer, and if you're a fan, which most of these people who are working on these they're a fan of the original movies. They're writing a movie that they want to see where the direction of the story is going. Simple as that. So, again, no matter what direction Star Wars would have gone, you would have had people pissed. Maybe not as pissed, or maybe more pissed. You don't know. Nobody will know, because this is what we have now. You can't go in the past and change it. Solo just came out. That movie didn't do very well in the box office. Granted, it was because in my opinion, it's a movie A, no one asked for. B, it came out around the time where really big movies such as Avengers and Deadpool's out. C, is too close to the release of The Last Jedi, a movie that people are divided on. So, and you have all these factors that are going on, like, hey, this movie's not going to do so well. And it didn't, unfortunately. I enjoyed it. I gave my review. So what do you do with a divided fan base? Can you appeal to both sides? I think that the only thing you really can do is give them time. Time to calm down. These movies are coming out way too fast, if you ask me. That's one thing I will say, that as a big Star Wars fan myself, I'm kind of not too crazy of. I think that the franchise is being diluted with all these movies and the properties coming out too fast. You need some time in between. Simple as that. And it's, think of like your favorite food. Like, oh, I love pizza. But if you keep getting pizza every day, and it keeps getting more and more pizza, you're gonna get tired of it. I know, like, they kind of want to use Star Wars kind of like how Marvel's using their franchises, and tell like different stories of the universe. But the main thing with the Marvel movies is that they all kind of point towards each other. They all have, they start in different areas and they all point towards each other. Here with Star Wars, since we already have a format of trilogies, you have your main trilogy, then you have side stories. These side stories don't really point to anything particular. All you're doing is just fleshing out things that we kind of already know. And to me, that's kind of boring. You want to give us some side stories of Star Wars within the Star Wars universe. Tell us some old Republic things. Tell us some things in the future of Star Wars. Tell us something that has nothing to do with, you know, Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie. Go to some other planet, like way far from the distance, where something else is going on. Maybe there's someone who they don't know anything about what's going on in the main Empire or the main, New Republic, but yet there's somebody new that has like Force powers, but they don't have a teacher. They don't, know what to do with it, but yet they're discovering on their own, and they have to fight on their own or something. Give us a story like that. I don't know. They're gonna make a TV show. It's so diluted, and Star Wars is something that you have to get in small chunks to make it special. If you ask me, Star Wars is supposed to be special. It's not supposed to be a frequent thing that you get. It's supposed to be like cheesecake. Sorry to refer to us to food. Most people don't eat cheesecake all the time. They don't eat it nearly as frequently as they do pizza. It's not that I'm aware of. I haven't had cheesecake in months and months and months and months. So I don't want Star Wars, my cheesecake, every goddamn year, or more times than one year. It's only been 6 months since Last Jedi. We got a new Star Wars movie. Now, granted, the next Star Wars movie, Episode 9, it's not going to come till probably the end of 2019. We don't know yet, but we need a buffer. We need time to, first of all, to cool down now that there's fans that are angry. But we also just need time to love Star Wars again and to see it as something special. All in all, we have a divided country over so many subjects. And the only thing I could recommend to do, the only thing I could see what to do is to stop, realize that, hey, this person is just another person. They're a human being. They have opinions, they have beliefs, they have viewpoints of their own. We don't know what their life path, was to bring them to their viewpoints. We have to realize that they're entitled to their own viewpoints too. So maybe instead of arguing with them online, social media, whatever, or not even hearing them out, stop and ask them. So, hey, why do you think this? Try to understand each other. If we all just sit back and take the time to understand one another, that might do a whole hell of a lot of good. Unfortunately, in this day and age with social media, where everybody's just out there, it's like, oh, I need to send out this tweet, and it'll take me 10 seconds to do it. Or take an Instagram picture and set it up, it takes you 5 seconds to do it. Go on Facebook, see someone posted something, takes you 10 seconds to reply, then you move on. You're not really absorbing things, comprehending them, and understanding them to their full extent. And so it's everything very reactionary. You just see something and you react. Bam. And when you react super fast like that, you're letting your internal instincts take over. Wherever your standpoint is, you lash out with that standpoint. You don't use your empathy to look at the other side. And that's all I'm really having to say is we need to be a lot more aware of the different sides, wherever side we're on, whatever the opposite side is. We have to be aware of them, and we have to empathize with it. with the other side. Break down the bubbles. Break down the walls of wherever you're standing. Step outside your walls. Reach across into the other wall. And take someone's hand. And understand them. Walk a mile in their shoes. That's all I got. That's my solution. Take it for what you will. This video is far too long already. I'm probably way past the dragon fight in the God of War. So I probably have put more footage beyond that by now. It's going to be a really, really long video. So I hope you all enjoy it. Let me know what y'all think. I really love some feedback to whoever's watching this. So I will talk to y'all later. Everybody have a good day. And I love you very much. Bye.
Do you remember the way to the witch's house?
Yes. The woods with the blood red leaves. South of the lake. I know just where to go. Hope she made it back from Alfheim and can bring Mimir back. He seemed nice. Before you got up.